In a rare display of unity on Capitol Hill, the House of Representatives has unanimously passed legislation aimed at preventing anyone involved in the October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel from entering the United States. The bill, titled the No Immigration Benefits for Hamas Terrorists Act of 2025, was approved by a voice vote, a procedure used when there is overwhelming agreement, thus avoiding the need for individual roll call votes. The legislation was introduced by Republican Congressman Tom McClintock of California, who stated that the act places those involved in the attacks in the same category as Nazi collaborators under the Immigration and Nationality Act. More than 2 years have passed since the Hamas-led attacks, and the issue of U.S. policy toward Israel has remained a source of deep partisan friction, particularly within the Democratic Party, making this unanimous approval highly unusual. The bill specifically amends U.S. immigration law to make inadmissible any alien who carried out, participated in, planned, financed, afforded material support to, or otherwise facilitated the attacks. It also formally adds Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad to the list of terrorist organizations whose members and supporters are barred from the country. The push for this legislation gained momentum following the arrest earlier this year of Mahmoud Amin Yaqub al-Muhtadi, a Gazan native residing in Louisiana, for his alleged involvement in the October 7th attack. The bill now moves to the Senate, where a similar version was introduced by Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn and Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen. A similar bill passed the House during the last term but was never taken up by the Senate. Congressman McClintock expressed hope that the repeated unanimous action by the House will compel the Senate to act this year and send the bill to the President's desk. Concerns over terrorism financing are also at the center of a new federal investigation in the Midwest. The Treasury Department has launched a probe into allegations that taxpayer funds in Minnesota were illicitly funneled to the Somali-based terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the investigation on December 1st, stating that under what he called the feckless mismanagement of the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz, Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization. The announcement follows recent actions by President Donald Trump, who just last month eliminated temporary deportation protections for Somalis living in Minnesota. At the time, the president described the state as a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity and criticized Governor Walz for failing to address the issue. The investigation will focus on claims that fraudulent nonprofit organizations were used as conduits to steal public money and reroute it to Al-Shabaab, a designated terrorist group and Al-Qaeda affiliate responsible for numerous attacks in East Africa. These allegations are particularly sensitive in Minnesota, which is home to the largest Somali American community in the United States. While the specifics of this new probe are just emerging, it comes in the wake of other major fraud cases in the state, including the massive Feeding Our Future scandal, which involved the theft of hundreds of millions of dollars from federal child nutrition programs. That case, while not linked to terrorism, has heightened scrutiny of nonprofit operations and financial oversight within the state. While federal agencies investigate threats from abroad, law enforcement is also contending with a rise in politically motivated threats at home. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer confirmed on Sunday that 3 of his offices in New York were targeted with bomb threats. The threats were sent via email to his offices in Rochester, Binghamton, and on Long Island. According to Senator Schumer, the emails carried the subject line, MAGA, and included text alleging that the 2020 election was rigged. The term MAGA is the acronym for President Trump's Make America Great Again slogan. The use of this rhetoric 5 years after the 2020 presidential election underscores the persistent and volatile nature of political divisions in the country. In a statement posted on social media, Senator Schumer said that local and federal law enforcement responded immediately to the threats, conducting full security sweeps of the affected offices. He confirmed that everyone was safe and expressed gratitude for the quick and professional response. The incident is part of a disturbing trend of increased threats and acts of intimidation against elected officials. Targeting a high-ranking congressional leader, like the Senate Minority Leader, is seen as a direct assault on the country's democratic institutions, and federal authorities are now working to trace the origin of the threatening emails. These political tensions are forming the backdrop for a major legislative showdown in Washington, with the health care of millions of Americans hanging in the balance. House Democrats are intensifying their push to extend enhanced subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, which are set to expire at the end of this month. At a press conference on Capitol Hill, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries warned that the clock is ticking. He stated that if Congress fails to act, tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased health care costs. These enhanced premium tax credits, which help people afford insurance plans purchased on the ACA marketplace, were first expanded in 2021 and have been extended since. Their expiration would create what many are calling a healthcare cliff, with premiums expected to rise sharply for many individuals and families in January. To force a vote on the issue, Democrats have filed a discharge petition for a bill that would provide a straight extension of the subsidies for another 3 years. A discharge petition is a procedural move that, if signed by a majority of 218 House members, can bring a bill directly to the floor for a vote, bypassing committee approval. Leader Jeffries reported that all but one House Democrat has signed the petition, meaning they need only a handful of Republicans to join them. Meanwhile, informal talks are reportedly underway with some Republicans, who are said to be considering a shorter 2-year extension that would include what Jeffries called modest reforms. President Trump and GOP leadership are reportedly weighing this narrower plan, which could include new limits or stricter eligibility requirements, a long-standing Republican goal for social programs. With just weeks left before the deadline, the fate of the subsidies remains a central and urgent focus of the lame duck session of Congress. But while partisan battles continue over issues like health care, Diumoti, Congress, and the President did come together on a measure to honor the nation's most decorated military heroes. President Donald Trump has signed into law the Medal of Honor Act, which will provide a substantial increase in the annual pension for recipients of the nation's highest military award. The legislation, which passed both the House and Senate with unanimous support, will raise the pension from its current level of just under $17,000 a year to approximately $67,000 a year. This represents a nearly fourfold increase and is the first time the pension has been raised in almost 25 years. The Medal of Honor is awarded for acts of supreme valor, and there are currently just over 60 living recipients. Proponents of the bill argued that the increase was long overdue to account for decades of inflation and to provide a level of financial security that better reflects the immense sacrifice of these individuals. The bipartisan bill was introduced in the House by Republican Congressman Troy Niels of Texas and in the Senate by Republican Senator Ted Cruz, also of Texas. The White House announced that the president had signed the bill into law on Monday evening, publicizing the move through a post on the administration's social media channels. The unanimous passage and signing of the act mark a moment of consensus in an otherwise divided political landscape.